Welcome, awesome humans of YouTube. My name is Larissa Shanti with Shanti Moves, and today we're going to be going over seated forward fold and staff pose. So staff pose kind of leads into seated forward fold. That's why I'm putting both of those together today, so you get kind of a bonus pose. Staff pose is also known as stick pose or Dandasan. Seated forward fold is seated forward fold, or Paschimottanasan, or forward bend. They both have interchangeable names, so name doesn't really matter. What feels good in the pose matters. So if you want to join me with that one, let's get down to the mat. Okay guys, so you're down on your mats. Come sit on your sit bones, lean back, extend those legs nice and long on your mat. Take the legs about hip width apart. Sometimes we see with the feet together. Today we're gonna do it feet hip width apart, so there's a little bit of space in between the thighs. We're gonna first start with our stick pose, our Dandasana, and then we're gonna move into our forward fold from there, because it's a great prep for the forward fold. All right, so legs are at hip width, and then find a little bit of engagement here. So toes are flexing, not super hard, but just a little flex. And then your thigh bones are kind of spiraling in, so you're grounding down. And then at the same time, you can take your fingertips out wide, maybe a little bit behind you, tenting them, and then you can press up through those fingers to lengthen through the crown of the head. This little finger support is really nice, especially in the beginning. And maybe even to intensify that sensation or solidify that sensation, take your thumbs, bring it underneath your armpits, and give yourself a little lift up. And that can kind of give you a different sensation of what we're going for here. So pressing down through the fingers, reaching up through the crown of the head. And we're finding that length through the spine here. Now, if you've gotten to this point and you're like, ooh, your back really wants to round, you're kind of sitting back. Sometimes it can be helpful to rock from side to side, remove any of that flesh under there so your sit bones are right down on the mat. Or another favorite of mine, you can either roll up the back of the mat, or I personally like to roll up a towel or a blanket, whatever you have. Come sit on those with your sit bones. And then that can help us create a anterior pelvic tilt, so we're not leaning back. So if we have really tight hamstrings in the beginning, this can be an awesome option for that. Also, tight back will fall into that. Good. Now, fingertips back out if you came onto your blanket, pressing down through the sit bones, lengthening up through the crown of the head. And I bet if you are doing this for the first time, you're like, wow, that pose looked really easy, but holy cannoli, my body is working hard. You are not alone. This was a very challenging pose for me in the beginning, so just taking it one step at a time. So this is our staff pose, or our stick pose, Dandasana. We find that length through the body, in the legs and in the spine first. And then we're gonna move into our forward fold, Paschimottanasan. So if your legs started to rotate outwards when you lean forward, that's a good sign that your hamstrings are really tight. So rein it back in. Make sure those toes are going towards the sky and you're not opening up with the knees. Beautiful. All right, so after that, you can continue sitting on your blanket. If you want more elevation, you can even sit on your bolster. I want everybody to start at first with a giant bend in their knees, even more so than you think. Maybe even grab underneath the knees, anchoring there, and then pressing down through the sit bones as you lengthen up through the crown of the head. So you're pushing down and lengthening up, and your heart is kind of lifting up and out like a proud heart. Good. Now from there, add the arms. Arms come up nice and high, reaching through the fingertips, lots of energy here, engaging through the outer armpits. And then on your exhale, maybe think belly to thigh. So belly rolling on top of those thighs, and then the hands come wherever they may. So maybe they're up here, maybe they're down by the ankles, or maybe they're onto the feet. Either way, pause here with the knees still bent. Inhale, find the length again, so you're pressing through the sit bones, reaching through the crown of the head, this time at an angle instead of straight up, and a proudness, a little puffing sensation with the heart. Good, so if you've gotten to this point and your back is still nice and flat, maybe you want to experiment by extending the legs a little bit, lengthening them out, one shuffle at a time, maybe pausing in between each shuffle, resetting again by pressing through the sit bones as you inhale, lengthening through the crown of the head. And then on the exhale, shuffle the knees down. But if at any point you find your spine rounding here, then maybe take it back one shuffle. So you can find that nice flat back. Because when we round, we actually lose that integrity or that action in the body that we're going for, which is lengthening the hamstrings and the lower back. So sometimes less is more. Finding where that is for you. Maybe you've found your legs down on the floor, toes are still flexing. Inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, lower. So we're never trying to go nose down to the ground and rounding. I always like to say belly to the thighs, heart melting forward, reaching towards the toes. Inhale, come up nice and slow. And then another option here is, I've already given you sitting on a blanket. Sometimes using a strap is super helpful. So you can keep those you can keep that bend in the knees. Bring your strap around. And this is also really good if you really have trouble rounding in the spine. So using that option, grabbing the strap, wrapping it around the feet, and then pulling forward with the heart here. At the same time, you're pushing down with the sit bones, reaching through the crown of the head. Good, so this is working on keeping that nice long spine. And then maybe bending the elbows and bringing the heart through to find that flat back with the knees bent. Beautiful. Release the strap. So those are my options for you. I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and if you found this video useful, a like and subscribe is always, always so nice to get. Thank you so much for taking your time to join me today. Until next time, namaste. Whatever you want to call it. Anyways, we're going to be doing staff pose, Dandasan. All right. Welcome, awesome humans of YouTube. I'm Larissa Shanti. Okay. We're going to be going into that. Okay, last one. This is going to be the last one. The last one.